The 20th of May, 2026, Wednesday morning. A reading from Common Buddhist Text, Guidance and Insight from the Buddha. Chief editor of this compilation is Dr. Mahadhamma Kosajan. We are in Chapter 7 on ethics. We previously covered the perspective of the Theravada tradition and the perspective of the Mahayana tradition. Now we are on the Vajrayana tradition. Chapter 7 on ethics, wholesome and unwholesome actions. The 10 wholesome actions. This passage is a simple listing of the 10 course of wholesome actions as taught by the Buddha. Also is seen in the Theravada tradition 111 in the form of the avoidance of certain unwholesome deeds and the practice of their positive antidotes. The 10 wholesome actions consist of abstaining from the 10 unwholesome actions and putting their positive antidotes into practice. The first wholesome action of the body is to abstain from killing and to protect beings instead. The second wholesome action of the body is to abstain from taking what is not given and practice generosity instead. The third wholesome action of the body is to abstain from sensual misconduct and to maintain ethical discipline instead. The first wholesome action of speech is to abstain from lying and to tell the truth instead. The second wholesome action of speech is to abstain from divisive speech and to settle hostilities instead. The third wholesome action of speech is to abstain from using harsh language and talk in a pleasantly way instead. The fourth wholesome action of speech is to abstain from idle chatter and to recite prayers instead. The first wholesome action of the mind is to abstain from covetousness and to embrace generosity instead. The second wholesome action of mind is to abstain from malevolence and to practice benevolence instead. The third wholesome action of the mind is to abstain from holding wrong views and to apply correct views instead. This quote or passage is sourced from the words of my perfect teacher, page 186. The perfection of generosity. The next passage below describes the three modes of practicing the perfection of generosity: giving material things, giving or teaching the Dharma, and protecting beings from danger. Giving material things. Giving material things can take three forms: simple generosity, great generosity, and extreme generosity. Generosity, dana, means giving to others all kinds of material objects, starting with a cup of tea or a pot of barley, as long as you give something away with a pure intention. Its quantity does not matter. In general, if people gain possession even of just a small property and wealth, they clutch at it until their last breath. And so it cannot serve for their benefit either in this lifetime or the future. No matter how much they have, they think that they have nothing and loudly proclaim to be starving to death. They already seem to have become hungry ghosts as causality or causally concordant results of their actions. Avoiding such attitudes, you should endeavor to practice generosity by making offerings to the three jewels, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, giving to the lowly and the poor, and so forth. As Mila Priya said, deny food to yourself, give to the needy. Otherwise, if you succumb to desire, though you may have all the wealth in the world, you will never be satisfied. You will not be able to renounce what you have, and will always believe that you need to abstain even more riches before being able to make any offering or give any alms. The Dharma practice of giving material things and other kinds of wealth was taught by the Buddha chiefly for householders. Monastic monks should merely train in reducing their desires and become content with whatever they have. What is most important for them is to practice the three higher trainings: the training of ethical discipline, concentrative meditation, and the training of wisdom. In Pali language, it's called Tetso Sika, with great determination. Even among difficult conditions of mountain hermitages and other solitary places and monasteries, some people go against their spiritual practice and amass material possessions through cheating in trade or from farming or other unwholesome activities. Then they make a boast of the practicing of the Dharma through making offerings to the three jewels, giving alms to the poor. However, even the Dharma can lead to a bad destiny if it is not practiced according to the Dharma. That kind of generosity is absolutely useless. The most important thing, therefore, is to always remain content with whatever one has. Great generosity means giving up to others something that is very rare and precious to oneself, such as a horse, an elephant, a son, or a daughter. Extreme generosity refers to sacrificing one's own body, life, limbs, and so forth. It is like the prince, great courage, giving his body to the tigress. Acharya Nagarjuna giving his head to Satyavahara prince, and the princess giving her body to the tigress, for example. This, however, cannot be practiced by ordinary beings, only by those who have attained the stages of awakening, where one no longer has any ordinary human limitations. Presently, we can only mentally dedicate our body, life, and possessions to the benefit of sentient beings without attachment, and pray that we may be capable of actually giving them away in the future. This verse is cited also from the words of my perfect teacher, page 381 to 384. Giving or teaching the Dharma. Giving Dharma means to do all kinds of things to help people and others on the spiritual path, such as giving endowments, Dharma explanation, text transmission, and so forth. However, until one's own desire for such things as material gains and respect are completely extinguished, though one may pretend to be working for the benefit of others, it is a mere mock show. It is really quite difficult to give the gift of the Dharma to sentient beings. Teaching the Dharma to others without gaining some personal experience of its truth is not going to help others at all. Collecting offerings and wealth by teaching the Dharma is what the Indian Dampa has called turning the Dharma into merchandise to acquire riches, so as long as your own desires are not exhausted. You should not haste to work for others' benefits. Pray instead that whatever benevolent gods and spirits overhear you reciting Dharma texts and prayers or reading the words of the Buddha, their minds may be liberated. After performing water offerings or the symbolic offering of the body, recite the well-known verse, abandon all evil, perform only wholesome actions, Tame your own mind. That is the teaching of the Buddhas. Rest content with that much given of the Dhamma. When your own desires are finally exhausted, then it will be time to devote yourself mainly to helping others without falling under the power of pleasure seeking or indulgence for an instant. So that is how you should proceed. The words of my perfect teacher, page 384 to 387. Giving protection from dangers to human and animals. Giving protection or freedom from danger refers to such activities as giving protections to beings who are unprotected, giving shelter to those who are without any shelter, or offering support to those without any support. Specifically, since the Blessed One has said that all conditioned wholesome deeds, protecting sentient beings, lives is the most beneficial, you should most assiduously try to rescue beings in all kinds of practical ways, such as prohibiting hunting and fishing whenever you have the power to do so. Random sheep on the way to the slaughterhouse, saving lives of fish, insects, and the going to be killed, and so forth. The words of our perfect teacher, page 387. Perfect ethical discipline. The passage below describes 3 modes of practicing for the perfection of ethical discipline: refraining from evil, gathering wholesome qualities, and bringing benefit to sentient beings. Refraining from evil. The discipline of refraining from evil means avoiding, like poison, all the 10 unwholesome actions of body, speech, and mind, which do not benefit or serve others. This is cited from the words of my perfect teacher, page 387, 388. Gathering wholesome qualities. The discipline of gathering wholesome qualities refers to creating all kinds of wholesome roots that it is possible to create whenever possible, ranging from the tiniest ones. Even according to the common saying of mundane people, wholesome actions and evils are created all the time through our mouths, through our hands, and even as we walk, even as we sit. That is why, unless we take care to avoid evil actions and adopt wholesome attitudes by mindfully and attentively examining ourselves all the time in whatever we do, we may commit very serious unwholesome actions, even while we're just having fun. As it is said, do not underestimate even the slightest evil, believing it can do no harm. Even a tiny spark of fire can set alight a mountain of hay. This is from the Dhammapada, verse 71. On the other hand, if we use to apply mindfulness and attentiveness all the time in whatever we do, then we may create even an inconceivable mass of wholesome qualities while going about our everyday business. Even such small acts as taking off the hat to pay respects to a pile of money stones on the road and keeping it on our right side, passing around it, when performing in the framework of these 3 excellent modes, can lead you straight to the perfect awakening. As it is said, do not underestimate even the slightest wholesome action, thinking it could bring no benefit. Water drops assembling can gradually fill a large vessel. Dhammapada, verse 122. Remember the story of a pig that once upon a time was chased around a stupa by a dog, or one about the 7 caterpillars who once fell into the water upon a tree leaf and were carried around the stupa in the water, circumambulating it 7 times, which caused them eventually to attain liberation. Therefore, At all times, in all circumstances, avoid even the tiniest evil and create even the tiniest wholesome roots you can create. And then offer the karmic benefit to all sentient beings. This includes all the bodhisattva vows and precepts. This verse is cited from the words of my perfect teacher, 388 to 389. Bringing benefit to all sentient beings. The discipline of bringing benefit to sentient beings mean actually working for the benefit of sentient beings through relying on the four ways of attracting disciples. Once one has completely exhausted one's desires, as mentioned earlier, while one is a beginner, it is done by offering the karmic benefits of one's training and practice of creating wholesome roots and avoiding evil, done in the framework of the three excellent modes for the benefit of all sentient beings. This is cited from the words of my perfect teacher, page 389. The discipline of bringing benefit to sentient beings consists of 11 things, which are listed in the stages of the awakening of the paramis of the bodhisattvas as follows. Participating in meaningful activities. Dispelling the pain of suffering of sentient beings. Teaching knowledge to those who do not know the method. Appreciating and returning help received. Protecting others from danger. Eliminating the misery of those who are in pain. Providing necessities to those who do not have them. Attracting a circle of Dhamma friends and engaging them in accordance with their mentalities. Arousing delight through authentic good qualities. Properly eliminating and frightening off enemies of the Dharma through supernatural powers and creating inspiration. This verse is cited from the Jewel Ornament of Liberation, page 220. Finally, the discipline of restraint. This passage describes the types and reasons for taking the vows of individual liberation, which is the basis of taking the bodhisattva vows. The discipline of restraint has common and uncommon variants. The common ones is of any of the 7 types of vows for individual liberation. As said in the stages of the bodhisattva's discipline of restraint is the vow of individual liberation that a person has taken. There are 7 types. The discipline of the monk, nun in training, male novice, female novice, layman, laywoman. One should know how they fall into lay and monatistic renunciant categories. Those vows keep one away from harming others and its basis. Someone taking a vow of individual liberation turns away from it for their own sake, while a bodhisattva turns away from it for the other's sake. As in the sutra requested by Narayana says, the bodhisattva does not maintain discipline for the sake of political power, nor for the sake of the higher rebirth, nor for the sake of Indra, nor for the sake of Brahma, nor for the sake of enjoyments, nor for the sake of Shiva, nor for any object of senses. Likewise, he does not maintain discipline through fear of rebirth in the hellish realms, in the animal kingdom, or in the netherworld. Rather, he maintains discipline in order to assume the style of a Buddha. He maintains discipline because he seeks the benefit and ease of all sentient beings. This passage is cited from the Jewel Ornament of Liberation, page 214 to 215. As we leave off there today on chapter 7, from the perspective of Vajrayana traditions on ethics, we will pick up on the perfection of patience and acceptance, forbearance, on Chapter 7 from the Vajrayana tradition. This is a reading from the Common Buddhist Text, Guidance and Insight from the Buddha. Chief editor of this compilation is Dr. Maha Dhamma Kosajan.